right.
Look at that.
So we're going to say hi. Hey.
Hey.
So that's going to be our little screenshot.
Awesome.
So this is I'm a Car episode, I think this is number 39.
Wicked.
Yeah, so we got Chris Tiessen.
Birthday episode.
Oh, this is the birthday episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chris's birthday yesterday.
And I turned 39.
39.
Episode 39.
Shut up.
Yeah, this is insane.
That's a beautiful and crazy coincidence.
And it's your birthday today.
And it's my birthday today. Happy birthday, Rob. Happy birthday, Chris.
And a present for Rob.
Presents for... It's closed right now.
Yeah.
Just for the record. So, Chris, that's a great little, segue, Toque. So what's the deal with the story of the beer and what you're up to these days? Maybe you can give the audience
spiel.
a little heads up.
Oh, okay, let's try to keep this simple. Okay, no, you know what? I've been practicing.
I've been practicing that.
So, I'm a KW kid, born and raised in Kitchener. You're like, oh my gosh, he's talking about when he was born.
KW, good.
Yeah, and moved to Guelph about 15 years ago for grad school, for a PhD at the university.
Yeah.
And, which I never completed. Ended up running a local paper called Snap for a few years.
Where you learned to love us.
Yeah, where I was first introduced to Intrigue. Sitting on the Hillside Inside Advisory Committee and listening to these two upstarts try to weasel their way into the media market, which I thought I owned at the time.
I think you did, though.
Yeah,
fair.
well, Snap was not bad, and continues to be great.
Yeah.
So 5 years later, after Snap, I had a meeting with then Chamber of Commerce President Lloyd Longfield, sat him down and said, I'd love to work for the Chamber. I didn't really know what the Chamber was, but I knew they were involved in community. I knew I wanted to do things with them. Lloyd said, great. Made me wait about 10 months. Called me one day, when at that time I had basically given up on the Chamber, and said, do you want to come work? And so I became... Yeah, so he stuck me in a position focused on sustainability, which I knew nothing about. My degrees in school are 16th century religious history and popular cultural print stuff.
Right.
And so...
But you rode a bike around.
Yeah.
So
I rode a
you're
bike, so I was sustainable. Yeah, and I went to the Chamber. The one thing I did know how to do was publish.
Yeah.
So I said to Lloyd, look, I don't really know much about sustainability, but I can do a sustainability magazine. We ended up creating Collaborate.
Which was a huge success.
Yeah, I mean, depending on how you gauge success, I think it was something that Guelph needed, and
it was a defibrillator for the magazine. Clear. Okay, we got some value in the marketplace.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good, and did that with actually asked or invited then freelancer designer and illustrator Kai Sepulis, who basically everybody who will ever watch this video knows who that is. And asked her to do those original Chamber magazines with me. We ended up doing 22 magazines in 4.5 years.
That's awesome.
At the Chamber. And basically we grew it to the point where they didn't really belong to be housed in a Chamber of Commerce. I mean, the Chamber's primary mandate isn't to publish. And my primary mandate isn't to work at the Chamber.
Right.
And so Kai and I started what is now Toque in February.
Right. Hence the beer.
Yeah. And and shout out to Royal City Brewing, who are the greatest people on earth, brewed a beer for us.
Awesome.
And actually this bottle is one of the last bottles. You can't get it anymore. It's sold out at the Woolly, it was at Majida, the stock is depleted.
Awesome.
But they promised they'll rebrew.
Really?
Yeah, for issue 2.
All right, cool.
We're planning on a porter for the winter, so look out.
So now you're doing Toque. So quick synopsis, 30 seconds. What is Toque?
Yeah. It has nothing to do with beer, by the way. That's just sort of a promotional piece.
Which was a great idea, by the way.
Yeah, it was, and it's a great beer too. Dry hop pale ale.
Love it. Can't wait to try it in the parking lot.
Yes, we are going to do this. This is amazing.
I mean, in a house somewhere, safe.
Yeah, totally.
No legal implications.
In a parking lot beside a house. So Toque, in a nutshell, I like to sort of divide it into 3 things. It's publishing, branding, content marketing.
Yeah.
With a real focus, sort of the hub of it, the foundation of Toque is a quarterly lifestyle magazine.
Right.
Or what we call a lookbook, because we really don't like to be tied to any sort of parameters. Kai loves design, illustration, and
creative amazingness.
Yeah, just creating beautiful aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I love telling people stories and writing and pictures. And so you combine those things.
That's amazing.
And surprisingly enough, I love sales. I love ad sales. So I mean and the funny thing is again is that there have been a lot of people who've tried to do stuff like this. Who've tried to launch magazines, who've come up to me over the years and asked, what makes a successful magazine? What's the business model? And no matter how great Toque gets, no matter how sort of engaged our audience is, it really is nothing without the advertising partners. It just does not exist.
Yeah.
And so that's that
revenue
component. Yeah, that's the component that as a couple, Kai and I are able to do.
Cool.
To do well.
So then, you guys have launched this amazing new company, Toque.
Yeah.
Publishing, content marketing. You're doing ads. We got partners all over the place. You guys are crushing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the gate. We just step back a little bit. I know there was maybe a couple years ago we had a conversation at Baker Street.
Yeah.
And you were kind of contemplating this idea of going out on your own.
Yeah.
Not necessarily with a complete clarity around what that would look like.
There will never be clarity in my life.
But there was this itch that you had about doing it, but there was like a lot of things that kind of like, I wouldn't say held you back, but there was like these reservations around like, well, I have a family and I need, some stability in my life. And as much as the entrepreneurial endeavor was kind of enchanting, there was some realities in life that you had to be dealing with. But you did it anyway. And I think there's a story there that people need to hear, because I know a lot of people that they're in a job and they're, maybe happy, maybe not. They've had an idea to start a business, but they just haven't pulled the trigger because they're scared.
Or for any number, of the
when it boils down, though, it's fear.
Yeah.
Because if there was no fear, we'd do it.
Yeah.
If there was no issue, we'd just go. So what was it that A, held you back, and then B, what was it that said, fuck it, I'm going to jump off this cliff?
It's a super question. First of all, I think what held me back is my context, historically, let's say. Both my parents are retired profs.
Right. They're your profs.
Life profs. Life profs. Which is probably what held me back. But no, both my parents are retired profs. My only sibling, brother, is also a prof, teaches at Ryerson, and which is great. I mean, that's great achievements, but absolutely risk-averse professions, right?
Literally.
I mean, they they're tenured. They've got their pensions. My parents are making more money retired than I probably will working, just through their pensions and their benefits and all this. And so for a long time, for decades really, I just thought that was the path, right? That you got your MA, you got your BA, which I did, you got your MA, which you did your PhD, which mostly I did. I went back for a second MA, and it took a while. I mean, my sort of stepping out was actually going into the private sector and working at Snap. Like really leaving academia was the scariest thing. But then jumping forward to sort of how you go from working within an organization like the Chamber,
right,
to being able to take that leap. Yeah, go.
Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah.
Is, a lot of people say it was readings. A lot of people say they have a single mentor. A lot of people would say, they just knew or whatever. For me, it was truly meetings with people like you. So I can name 5 or 6 super important people locally.
Give me some shout outs.
So Rob.
Well, whatever.
No, you're like a core, because that lunch actually I look back to often.
It was a great lunch.
Yeah, and basically what Rob, I'm a guy who needs praise, constant praise and affirmation. So whenever you want to give it to me, but
you're doing a great job, Chris.
Good,
you're crushing it.
But I remember at that lunch you telling me like you're already there. Like you got to do this. You have the tools, you have the skills. You've shown it within an organization as a quote unquote entrepreneur. Right. Now just do it. I look to people like Keithio Wansia, the president and CEO of the Chamber. That dude has been around now at the Chamber for 2 years. I can tell you that the first year was Keithio and me just smashing our heads together and screaming at each other almost on a daily basis. And I have grown to love that man like no other. Like he's inspirational. What he's doing, I think, in the community will be sort of felt for years. Cool. But what he's done in my life is he gave me the freedom. First of all, he made me a manager. I'd never been a manager before.
Right.
And basically said, just go for it. You know, make your mistakes, make your successes. As he said to me, I'll always be here to talk it through, to support you in the good and the bad. And that really built my confidence.
That's amazing. And there's a big lesson for anybody out there in a leadership position to give other people the opportunity like Keithio gave you.
Totally. And he lives by that.
He lives
by that. And the greatest thing that Keithio ever did was the day that I went to him and I said that I was leaving, he congratulated me, gave me a huge hug and said, this is what I want all my employees to do. Meaning, spend some time here, grow, learn, and then get out and spread wings. And you've seen that at the Chamber with a lot of people coming through the organization. So, you know, there's yourself, there's Keithio, there's people like, there's countless people. Now, there's all the small business owners who I deal with on a daily basis. There's the breweries. There's my own family, you know, my own support system. Now I'm sort of like, I should be telling specific names because I know so many, but also... I
feel like we just got into an Oscar speech.
Yeah, totally. And I'd like to thank
parents.
At the end of the night, I'd like to thank Kai Sepulus, because really she's the one who basically, when I needed to make that final push, she basically said to me, you're either leaving or I'm leaving. Meaning she was basically telling me that she was not going to be working with me anymore if I continued to work with her through the Chamber. Right. She said, look, we got a great thing here. It's our time to do this. So let's go do it.
And then, so what was that deciding factor? What was the hump that broke the camel's back? What was that catalyst that said, okay, fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So it truly was Kai. I mean, really, it was Kai telling me that, because I'm nothing without her. Truly.
You guys are very much a dynamic duo.
Yeah, we are a dynamic duo. We if you've seen Toque magazine, I mean, of course we have our partners and contributors, but like it's a core two of us who do it all. So it was her saying that, but also it was the fact that, again, going back to Keithio, the fact that he let me grow the Chamber magazines to the point where they basically outgrew the organization. So that last magazine, which was called The No, 80 pages, and was supported by so many people. I mean, going back to people, I mean, Sean Marsh from Timberworks, Alan Mason from Trillium West, Sean Tiessen from Victoria Star Mercedes. Like, it was just, I guess it was just a wave of support. Yeah. It was a wave of support. It truly was. I don't do, a lot of reading. I did enough during my PhD. I don't do, inspirational reading or that kind of stuff. And you'll probably cut that part out because you're a huge advocate.
No, hey, whatever. People got to find their own paths to growth. It's all good, man.
But what I do is at Snap, I covered 1,500 community events. At the Chamber, I went to 5,000 meetings. It's meeting people. It's meeting people like Tanya Franst. It's meeting people like Matt Whittick of Companion. Like, it's just all these wicked leaders in the community who, when I was a grad student, didn't even know existed. Right. For me, it was the professors and the academic superstars who were my idols, and now it's these awesome folks around the region who are just doing killer stuff.
Hey, we're in a pretty cool spot.
Yeah, and I mean, the focus on social enterprise, the focus on sustainability. I mean, we're in the last month, and you know this because Intrigue has a footprint in Kitchener, and I mean, this is a shout out to Intrigue. Intrigue, you've won the best business award both at the Guelph Chamber of Commerce Awards ceremony and the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber Awards ceremony, which it speaks volumes. But what Kai and I have done over the last...
Thank you for that.
Yeah, but what we've done over the last couple months, no, you deserve it, is because Toque is a regional, and what I mean by that is we cover Wellington County and Waterloo Region, and there's a real specific mandate behind that. But what we've done is we've rediscovered Kitchener-Waterloo and the crazy successes that people are having down
It is
there.
an unbelievable community.
It's like, as I always say to people, it's like the Wild West for me going in there.
Cool.
And with a quality print product, it's just like, it's not, taking candy from a baby, but it's people want it, which is amazing. That's the greatest thing. It's when Toque came out and people started posting photos on Instagram of themselves reading Toque. Awesome. Like, that was crazy.
With no prompting.
Yeah, no, we have like a collection of 30 of them. People just tag us in photos now, and that's over the first 3 weeks of it being out.
That's amazing.
So
that's awesome.
It's pretty cool.
So now, maybe we can just get into a bit of a tactical conversation. So you mentioned your ad sales is what's like fueling this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I know in entrepreneurship and leadership, it's all about sales. Whether you're selling an idea, whether you're selling a product, whether you're selling a service, whether you're selling, trying to get buy-in from a team, whatever. We're all in sales. Daniel Pink's got a really cool book on To Sell as Human, right?
Which I will never read,
yeah,
but everybody
cool.
else should.
Yeah, no one needs
I will
to.
read it.
It's a fantastic book.
Audio
It's
book.
just all this idea. Yeah, Audible, if you want to use our login, I'll give it to you. But so when you've been doing ad sales for a decade, right?
I know,
So
it's
like,
weird.
what's kind of one thing, if you had an opportunity to go back, 10 years ago and tell yourself, hey, here's a tip to make this whole thing easier for you. What would that tip be to kind of share with the audience?
I don't know if I go back 10 years, but I'll tell you what my tip is now. And it came to a sort of a head at the chamber when I was supposed to be selling ad sales into a former magazine called Moving Business Forward,
right.
Which had sort of shrunk to essentially a 20-page newsletter. And it's that, and this probably means that I'm not a pure salesperson. You've got to be, and it sounds so corny, but you have got to be passionate about what you're selling. I think you guys, again, Intrigue, I mean, it's the culture in the organization dictates the successes of that organization.
Sure,
and for me, to be able to go into Kitchener, Guelph, wherever, and just talk to people about Toque and show it to them and sort of quote unquote sell from that angle is not that difficult. So I know it's not a practical tip.
I think there's something there though that you maybe just glazed over that needs to be just dug into a little bit, and that's this idea of when I go talk to people and show them something.
Yeah, totally.
I feel like right now, and not today, and I don't want to pigeonhole any generation or any time period. I think it's been true since the beginning of sales.
Yeah.
People have a hard time doing that.
Yeah.
Picking up the phone, walking through a door, introducing themselves to a stranger, putting their hand out, and talking about what it is they're doing and helping people with.
Yeah.
And really, from our perspective, like when we started Intrigue, and even today, we talk about this idea of we're in the rock turning business. People are like, what do you mean you're in the rock turning business? I'm like, well, picture a giant beach full of rocks. Our job is just to go turn them over to find clients. And more often than not, there's nothing. Sometimes there's a crab that's like trying to pinch you and telling you to F off.
Yeah.
But more so than the crabs, there's somebody being like, I've been waiting for this.
Yeah.
And I think that's something people need to wrap their heads around, because if we were to just all go out and take this kind of obligatory approach to saying it's my duty to let people know so they can make a decision yes or no, sales becomes a lot easier. And I think that's something you do innately that a lot of people maybe struggle with, because as children we've always been told, don't talk to strangers.
Yeah, totally.
Don't talk about money, it's impolite.
Yeah, and I mean, we're two totally different beasts, because you guys are huge and we're tiny. So one of the things I would say, one of sort of the things that makes it easier for somebody like me is that at this point in the game, I'm able to curate who I talk to.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
You're selective.
We're very selective. I mean, you'll see that in the magazine. I mean, we're highly curated. But because I hate calling people. I hate it. I don't. But it's talking to people. It's having conversations. It's going in. I mean, I just met with the dudes from Abe Urban Settlement Co. In fact, I'm going to a meeting there in Kitchener right now. And it's people like that, right? It's people who are inspired.
They got a kick-ass business.
Oh, they're amazing. They're incredible. But yeah, so that's the parting words of wisdom.
Okay, cool. So I guess we should do some self-incrimination now and crack these beers. Okay, so I'm just going to get something to open this with and see if we can make this happen.
Oh, man, I never... Yes.
Sorry, the car's off.
Yeah.
The car's off. Labels out?
Yes, labels out.
Cheers, my good friend.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Happy birthday to you.
Awesome.
That is wonderful. All right, thanks, guys.